A Twist in Time, Chapter 25, Hit List. Sakura and Naruto unanimously agreed to leave the war-torn clearing immediately. Although Orochimaru was certainly gone, perhaps even out of the forest of death altogether, there were remnants of his corrupted heresy wafting through the frigid night air, crawling over the fresh craters in the open terrain. On top of that, the three cloaked, diseased corpses were still splayed out amidst the rubble, and quite literally smelled like death. They radiated a sickly aura that made even Sakura's, a high-standing medic stomach turn. That wasn't just any illness. That was an illness Orochimaru specifically designed for her. Why? She had no idea. But if he was hoping to unsell her by it, he was doing a damn fine job. Frankly, at this point, Sakura just wanted to get away from any reminders of the recent battle. Perhaps even indulged in a flea, eager and fancied that the entire day never happened at all. It's probably the worst day in either of her lives, so far, which really did say something. After all, magical ninjas tended to encounter some particularly disturbing shit. But of course, she didn't have time for such naive, delusional thinking. Her work for the night wasn't finished yet. As soon as Sasuke opened his eyes, which wasn't long after Sakura's chakra coaxed him out of slumber, as he confirmed his vital signs were in working order, he departed. Naruto led the way through the night, carrying Sasuke on his back, pushing through the looming trees in uncharacteristically stoic silence. 10 minutes later, he and Sakura slowed their paces down to a walk, partly because they were exhausted and injured, partly because it was dark, and there was no way to find an optimal hideout until the sun was up again anyways. A small bed of bushes is smack dab in the middle of the woods. They caught eyes and exchanged a nod. It was no safe haven, but it would have to do. Naruto eased Sasuke down on the rough ground, while Sakura tried to smooth out a clear patch of earth, among a mad tangle of twigs and dried leaves. The teammate was still conscious, but rapidly slipping in and out of sleep, running a terribly high fever, and probably numb from the sheer pain from the fresh curse mark. While Naruto was quickly scattered out the area for enemies, Sakura pulled off her medical pouch and rooted through it to find some quick remedies to calm his aching body. She found the anti-inflammatories first, and wasted no time in propping Sasuke's hot head up onto her lap, ignoring the twigs painfully cutting into her exposed knees, slipping 2 pills in his mouth. His body was treating the curse like a foreign virus, which explained his fever. His body's desperate, final line of natural defenses was all in vain. "Swallow it," she commanded, and through his heavy-lidded gaze, he managed a shaky half-nod and did as instructed. It was a miracle he survived at all, but it was no time to celebrate just yet. Sakura didn't want to risk him passing out while the curse was still unsealed. When that happened the last time around, the curse had taken advantage of his vulnerable state, controlled his mind and body when he woke. She hastily reached for her strongest painkillers without sedative properties. She couldn't afford for him to get any crockier. It shoved one of those in his mouth, so I was digging out a small water canteen and holding it against his lips. Sasuke managed a few weak gulps, several droplets dripping down his chin, while Sakura pushed his matted hair away from his face. His forehead protector tucked away Naruto's weapon pouch to give his burning head access to crisp air, which he hoped might calm his fever a little faster. Naruto returned soon after, and offered a weak smile and thumbs up. "Coast is clear," he said before crawling over to join his teammate in the shelter of the bushes. "Now what, Sakura-chan?" His gaze drifted to Sasuke, who was obviously completely stale out of it. Sakura considered Naruto's question for a moment. "I'll steal the curse," he said slowly, eyes flickering out to meet his. "But not here. We need a better hideout and more space protection. Probably some traps, because the procedure is long and intricate. And I suck at sealing, so I might need to give it a few tries." Sakura knew she wouldn't manage a flawless Fujahohin seal like Kakashi did in her own life, but she needed to try, even though it was just something temporary to get through the rest of the exam. Naruto nodded, looking at her expectantly. "Should we find somewhere for that now?" he asked, hints of desperation in his voice. Sakura shook her head. "Not only will it definitely Sasuke unconscious, but it'll drain a huge portion of my chakra, even with my new seal," she explained, sensing Naruto's eyes drift to her forehead at her comment. "It might knock me out too, and I'm not sure you're up to babysitting both of us at the moment." Voice trailed off and gave her friend a meaningful look. Naruto met her gaze and nodded. If they got ambushed, they'd be screwed if Naruto was stuck protecting two useless teammates. He was low on chakra, mildly traumatized, and it was pitch black outside. We should lay low and get some rest until the sun rises, Dad. He proposed in a tone reminiscent of his older, more mature self. It would keep him conscious, Sakura added, beckoning towards Sasuke with a tilt of her head. I'll also patch up some of your injuries. Naruto shifted backwards, raising his hands in protest. Don't heal me. I'm fine. I heal pretty fast on my own anyways. You gotta see with your chakra if you gotta seal the bastard's curse thingy. Sakura fought the temptation to grin, as some of Naruto's typical spunk entered his voice. Tell you what, she said. I mend your injuries when you take first watch. That way I can sleep and replenish some of chakra before my shift. Naruto saw her stubborn, scrutinizing glare. His arms folded across his chest. Okay, fine, he huffed. But how are we going to keep him conscious anyways? She cast a nervous glance down Sasuke and placed her hand on his forehead. His skin was just as hot as before. Those anti-inflammatories weren't helping yet. And until they did, or he gained enough of his own chakra to keep the foreign curse under control, his body was at risk of shutting down entirely. Sakura gritted her teeth and rubbed her temples, breaking her brain for a solution. Alright, she said at a pause. I'll know what we do. And with that, she carefully lifted Sasuke's head off her lap, with her other arm over his shoulders, pushed him onto a sitting position. Naruto caught on and grasped Sasuke's upper arms to steady him. Sasuke, who was extremely delirious, groaned and put his face in his hands. Don't you dare puke on me! Naruto snapped with his usual flair. His face fell slightly when Sasuke didn't respond. So, what's next? He asked, instantly shifting his focus back onto Sakura. She raised her hand, palm up, and focused her eyes in concentration. Although this was a trick she'd done countless times in her other life, it required immaculate chakra control and every ounce of her focus. Plus, aside from the trickle of moonlight above, it was still pretty dark. I'm going to manually increase his chakra supply, she answered simply as she squared her shoulders to Sasuke's back, and the blue glow of pulsating chakra fell out her hand, illuminating the surrounding branches. Naruto watched the fascination as the blue ball of lethal energy in her hand was cloaked in yet another layer of chakra, this one a soft green. She lifted Sasuke's shirt and placed her glowing hand onto his bare back, while Naruto stared on. Entranced and visibly confused, Sakura decided to walk Naruto through the procedure, since he was paying such close attention anyways. I'm taking some of my own chakra and pumping it straight into his chakra circulation. She explains the blue and green chakra starts seeping into his skin. My medical chakra is coating and guiding my regular chakra to one of his chakra points, and protecting his organs from damage while it moves through his body. She sends her chakra and lands onto a point in Sasuke's back. Having another ninja's chakra in you feels very weird. Weird enough to keep you going awake for a while, I think. Weird was an understatement. Pumping your chakra into someone's body was no blood transfusion. Chakra had a life of its own. It reeked of its owner's signature. You're amazing, Sakura-chan! Naruto cheered with a goofy, admiring grin on his face. Sakura rolled her eyes. He doesn't understand what I'm saying at all, she thought, though unsurprised. Smart conversation wasn't what made Naruto's company so refreshing anyways. No, it was that balanced supply of positive energy that he radiated everywhere he went, even in that most terrible, unforgiving of circumstances. There was something about Naruto that made you feel absurd things like hope. That was probably why the two of them had become such a spectacular team over the years. She too had a racing fighting spirit, and Naruto knew how to keep it blazing. She smiled to herself. Boy, was she ever glad she stopped Orochimaru for getting to Naruto this time around. Not only did the snake fail to inflict the 5-element seal, meaning Naruto still had access to unique, ceaseless powers of the Nine Tails, but Naruto's presence reminded her to keep her chin up enough to function. When all the chakra she expelled was in Sasuke's system, Sakura kept her hand on his back to steady himself through the dizzying rush of chakra loss. Then, to her relief, Sasuke shuddered and jerked his head up. Ah! It's about time! Naruto exclaimed, patting Sasuke firmly on his shoulder. Sakura quickly rounded on him so she could see his face, crouching next to her orange-clad teammate. Sasuke's eyes were wide and trained on Naruto, Apparently, just realizing he was there, and his skin was ghostly pale. Sakura's heart fluttered over seeing him like this. Still pretty out of it, a million times better than he had been before. So he instinctively touched his forehead to test his temperature. It was receding slightly, perhaps thanks to his increased chakra levels or medication kicking in. He turned in her direction upon contact. "What did you do?" he growled, his voice deep and slightly cracked, while looking her dead in the eye. I I gave you some of my chakra for an energy boost, she explained, struggling not to trip over her words under his penetrating stare. Yep, he's feeling uncomfortable as hell right now. It's coated in medical chakra, so your body won't reject it. Sasuke was watching her through the moonlight. You're inside of me? He stated. Sakura couldn't help but smirk as he looked at her with what appeared to be a combination of terror and amazement. She's inside you? That was supposed to be, Naruto cackled, not missing a beat, quite interrupted by Sakura's elbow gliding on his head, sending him face first into the dirt. Ignoring Naruto's comment, keeping her eyes trained intently on the ground, she continued. This doesn't give you access to any of my powers or anything. My chakra will blend with the rest of yours eventually, but that process can feel a little unnatural. Right, he answered flatly, also determinedly ignoring the chuckling blonde between them, though one of his eyebrows was twitching. Next, Sakura examined them both for injuries, then hastened to meet medical attention. Sasuke was fine, from some unintended senmon puncture wounds earlier that day, and Naruto wasn't in terribly rough shape either, except for the two fractured ribs and several cuts, but nearly healed thanks to the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra. Overall, their statuses were pretty impressive, considering the monstrosity of an enemy they just faced. Once the boys were passed up to their liking, Naruto stood and claimed that he desperately needed to take a leak before he rolled out of the alcove of bushes and creaked away into the darkness. Sakura regretfully let her gaze wander to Sasuke, specifically to the slope of his neck, where Orochimaru's foreboding black curse mark was in plain sight, popping out against his pale skin. Her whole skin prickled uncomfortably as she averted her eyes, desperately blocking out the impending feelings of dread. How are you feeling? She asked, both because she was genuinely curious and to distract herself from her thoughts. Terrible. He deadpanned while glaring into space. Can you sleep? He ran his hands over his face through his unruly hair, evidently frustrated. Probably not. Sakura nodded briskly, feeling an urge of satisfaction. As much as she wanted him to feel rested and well again, she knew he had to experience some short-term discomfort first. It was certainly better than risking the alternative, which was a murder, curse-driven rampage. Good. Don't. She clicked before stretching her arms above her head, yawning. She promptly pushed aside the mess of leaves and twigs on Sasuke's left, pulled herself down in a now cleared spot, facing away from him. Sasuke pulled his hands from her face and gaped at her, clearly surprised by her response. As he nuzzled herself more comfortably against the ground, she mumbled, Naruto's taking first watch. Wake me up in a couple of hours. Why can't I take first watch? He sat back, stubbornly, but he always seemed to predict her answer, as he went ahead and eased himself back down on the ground. She felt him fold his hands over his stomach, the side of his arm resting against her back, but his attempts to get comfortable were futile. Sakura could feel his chakra rolling beneath his skin in a manner that would keep even Shikamaru awake. You're too tired and sore to take watch, she chided, but her voice was softening as the exhaustion was settling in. Sakura swore she never experienced anything so cozy and inviting as the rough, flat ground beneath her. It felt like weights were attached to each of her limbs, pinning them in place. Then why can't I sleep? Sasuke asked quietly, after a short pause. Sakura clenched her fists and frowned. She had a feeling he already knew what this was about. She really didn't want to get into the gritty details right now that she finally managed to calm herself down for a decent rest. I'm going to seal up that mark on your neck in the morning. You can't sleep until I'm finished with it, she said, opting for a blunt, sparse answer, suddenly praying that he wouldn't probe any further. She needed to cut this short before she was reminded that the boy behind her, his arm leisurely pressed against the curve of her spine, was on his way to becoming the monster of her nightmares. I'll explain more tomorrow, I need to recharge first, she had, words slurring together. Her dry eyes were aching, so she squeezed them shut and curled her arms and legs into herself more tightly. Her body was craving sleep. Unlike the boys, who at least managed to get a short rest during her original watch at the Earther hideout, she had been running a pure adrenaline this entire time. I told you, he grumbled, cutting through her slumber. His tone was accusatory. She opened her eyes again, feeling a little agitated, but also surprised he was initiating conversation. Tell me what? She asked, without the slightest idea what he was getting at. Did you unlock your seal? She blinked in the darkness. Oh yeah, I did, she answered quietly. You worried for nothing, he added. Sounded smug, so she nudged him with her elbow. Quit acting like I'm the only one who worries, she shot back, only realizing after the words were out of her mouth that she was indirectly taking a jab at his confession while he was hugging her earlier that evening. I can't sleep because I don't know how to help you, Sakura. Shit. The one time Sasuke shows real concern for me, they start right back in his face. Well played, Sakura. She thought with a glance, face flooding with color. Sasuke helped his response before lightly shoving her with the side of his arm. Hey! Sakura groaned, though she was relieved he didn't seem offended, or rather vengeful, which was pretty typical for Sasuke. Good night, she hissed over his shoulder, because she really did need to sleep. Thankfully, she managed to soon after her lips curled into a smile. And if she had the energy to twist her head around, she would have seen that, despite his bruises and tired eyes, Sasuke bore a smile of his own. 2 days later, Sakura woke to a gentle waterside breeze tickling the bare skin of her arms and face, and the sound of rushing water nearby. She creaked her eyes open to a high afternoon sun, gazed at surroundings. She was sitting on rocky ground, propped up against a wall of protruding stone. The sparkling blue of a rushing stream was just visible through the sheltering trees ahead. Detecting a presence directly on her left, Sakura tilted her head to the side and found Sasuke sitting there, leaning against the same rock, his eyes closed and breathing deeply. Sakura frowned and inched closer to her resting teammate. The last time she had saw him awake, before she began periodic silent resting and taking walks with Naruto, Sasuke had been withering in pain in the aftermath of the sealing procedure. Fujahoni was famously known for the sealing and pain inflicted on the user, even though Sakura had been aware that she needed to hurt Sasuke to protect him from the curse. It didn't stop her from feeling pity. The entire sealing had lasted about 3 hours, including the 2 times Team 7 was forced to relocate the detected nearby enemies, and the time Sakura screwed up writing some of the characters and had to start the whole thing over. The bulk of the procedure was preparing the ritualistic circles of kunai around Sasuke's body, writing out all those damn characters, like hundreds of them, along the ground and up Sasuke's body. Not to mention, they needed to be written in Sakura's own blood. All in all, though her arms ached from the repeated cuts and her brain felt ready to explode, Sakura was reasonably confident she got it right in the end. At least she hoped. She shifted her weight, peering at the other side of her teammate's neck, where the 3-tomo of Ritsu's chronos mark was encased by the Fujahoni circle. Good. This looks like your seal's holding up. Sakura-chan! Came a bubbling voice from ahead. Sakura spun around to find Naruto's blonde head poke out from a nearby tree. She raised a finger to her lips and beckoned to her sleeping teammate. Shh! He's not up yet, she hissed. We won't wake him up. Trust me, Naruto said with a chuckle, drawing nearer with a water canteen in one hand and a dead fish in the other. Sakura caught sight of a nearby stack of branches, assembled into a miniature fire pit, 5 other dead fish piled next to it. Those new drugs you gave him really work. I tried to get him up before, but he wouldn't budge. Oh yeah, Sakura answered, turning back to Sasuke. You really did look at the world, with the potent painkillers keeping you in a pain-free, unconscious state. How many more pills did he take while I was resting? Z asked, quickly examining Sasuke's vitals. Naruto dropped the newly killed fist in a pile, scrunched his face in concentration. 2. One last night and one this morning, he said. Sakura nodded with approval. She stood and stretched out her arms and back. Despite the stiffness she was feeling, almost entirely re-energized. It was a truly thrilling sensation. This was the first time she experienced a fully loaded strength of 100 seal outside of the heated battle. She had so much power she almost didn't know what to do with herself. That certainly didn't stop the distinct hunger pains coursing through her abdomen. Now, how much chakra Ninja had, basic human needs trumped all. I'll help you cook the fish, Sakura offered and approached Naruto. He was crouched on the ground, sizing up the fish, undoubtedly trying to pick himself the biggest one. His hair was matted, he still had drying mud, and snake blood caked on his face and clothing. Now that she thought about it, she did too. Gross. Despite that, his bright blue eyes were filled with energy and determination. Sakura smiled and folded her arms. Any normal person would be exhausted after tending to his deadweight teammates for 2 straight days. But Naruto's stamina was second to none. And thanks for taking care of us. She hesitated because she meant it. Naruto met her gaze with a cheeky grin. Anything for you, Sakura-chan. He beamed mostly for her to sit by him. Glad you finally awake. I was getting tired of watching over my useless team. Yeah, it seemed like duckling, anticipating Sakura to him for the comment. But she laughed instead. Got any matches to light the fire? She asked. His face fell. No, he said slowly. Do you? Sakura nodded, pulling out a pack from her weapon pouch and starting to fire. Meanwhile, Naruto's eyes drifted to where the third member of their party was dozing. You know, I hate to admit it, but he's pretty useful to have around, being able to breathe fire and all. Naruto muttered, his face puckered at thought. Sakura opened her mouth to agree, but Naruto continued. This isn't about the exams anymore, is it? She froze. One of the branches caught fire and the flames began to spread, trembling leaves and bark in its wake. What do you mean? She asked quietly, watching Naruto intently, looking extremely troubled. Is Sasuke going to end up like that blonde kid in the lake? He asked, turning back to the burning logs. Sakura grabbed her fist and skewered it on the nearby sticks. No, she answered. But it was perceptive of Naruto connected the disease to Sasuke's curse. Because they both freaked of Orochimaru, even to an outsider who didn't know him well. Sasuke isn't sick, but what he's got is worse. Naruto stared at her. Can you cure it? He asked. There was a nervousness in his voice. Despite the moody front he put on around Sasuke, brotherhood was destined to grow between them. He cared for Sasuke's safety. She shook her head. No, but I could suppress it for a while. She answered honestly, deciding that Naruto should know what he was up against. Orochimaru's curse will offer Sasuke power. A lot of it. The catch is, if he chooses to use it, he could lose a part of himself. Oh, he won't use it. Naruto concluded, expressing perking up a little. He's already strong, so why would he want extra power anyways? Sakura pursed her lips and extended a stick over the flames to cook the fish. He might, she said, her voice catching. I hear the power it offers is pretty tempting. She clenched her teeth and fought against a swell of agonizing memories for surfacing. Shit, Naruto muttered, poking fire in a nearby stick. He frowned. But I know he won't. If you don't want him to, at least. Sakura looked up and raised her eyebrows. What? Naruto rolled his eyes and snatched a fist to roast. He's crazy about you. I've seen the way he watches you and follows you around, he grumbled. I know he's not a bad guy, so there's no reason for me to stop you guys from dating or whatever, especially if they want to. I don't know. He's still an asshole, but he's mellowed out a lot too. Maybe you're helping him? Sakura's face flushed as she stared determinedly at the fire, which was now fully ablaze. Maybe, she said. Naruto was totally suckered to their fake dating scheme. He was clearly reading too far into everything. But surely he was misinterpreting Sasuke's behavior. But what about that hug? Sakura's heart beat a little faster than she thought. She announced herself that Sasuke clearly felt something for her. Something beyond a typical teammate level bond. And, mellowing out, perhaps he was. As the primary target of Sasuke's angry outbursts these days, Naruto would know better than anyone. Sasuke rarely had ever been that really aggressive toward her, so she wanted to know the difference. Also, Naruto always had a special way of understanding people, including Sasuke better than she did. So was he actually onto something? No, he's not. Relax. Sakura shook her head. Now was not the time to succumb to childish daydreams. Naruto had a knack for instilling hope in everyone around him. Sometimes that hope was blinding, like as he promised to bring Sasuke home to her a lifetime ago. We all know how well that worked out, didn't it? Yeah, exactly. It didn't. They cooked all six fists over the next half hour and chatted naturally about what their next course of action would be to complete the exam. It's hard to say how many teams were left in the forest, duking it out for the remaining scrolls. Although Team 7 was still one scroll away from passing, having the extra heaven scroll gave them bargaining power. However, getting to pass the exam was losing a seal for Sakura, now that she had so many other problems to deal with. Sure, getting promoted to tuning and getting a hospital promotion would give her a huge advance in hunting Orochimaru. But what about the broken time travel scroll at home? Regardless of how powerful and influential she became in the village, what good would any of it be if she was destroyed from the inside out? Naturally, since unlocking her shield, she was feeling loads better. But, as Tsunade explained, the seal would merely keep her alive in her travels across dimensions, not necessarily stop them from happening. You okay, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked. Let me hear your thoughts. He already wolfed down his first fist and was flicking the bones into the fire pit. Sakura, on the other hand, had barely touched hers. I'm fine, she mumbled, managing a weak smile and biting into the warm, juicy flesh of the cooked fish in her hand. Gosh, was it marvelous to eat something hot and filling again, let alone anything at all. Next, Sakura suggested to Naruto to try to wake Sasuke, and feed him one of the fish while she washed up in the stream. Because, heaven forbid, if she had to stand around covered in dry mud and snake blood for 1 minute longer, someone would unnecessarily face the wrath of a brand new Strength of 100 seal. She grabbed 2 washcloths and a travel size to contain liquid soap. She always kept for cleaning out wounds, and trekked over to the rushing bio wire just beyond the trees. Once she was safely out of sight, Sakura stripped off her clothes and lowered herself into the cool, rushing current. She wasted no time in scrubbing her body down with soap, combing her lathered fingers through the gnarled strands of short hair until they were smooth and slick in the water. Once her body was entirely free of dirt and blood, she paused to scan the area of her chocolate signatures, because the last thing she needed was to get abducted again, and this time naked. That would certainly be a traumatizing rescue for both herself and her poor male teammates. But there weren't any ninjas or rains, so Sakura stayed submerged in a refreshing stream for a little while longer, while she teased the strands out of her clothing with the soap. She finished up soon after, patting herself down with an unused washcloth, basking in the heat of the afternoon sun. She dried off in no time at this rate. When she returned to the clearing a short while later, Sasuke was up and about, just taking the last bite of his rusted fist. Hey! She called, struggling to contain the warm glow she felt over seeing him, in a relatively pain-free state. How are you feeling? Fine, he answered shortly, turning in her direction, eyes lingering on her dripping hair. I just washed up, she explained, and you guys would probably, really benefit from doing the same. That was no exaggeration. Naruto sprang to his feet and punched the air, a little too enthusiastically. You hunter bastard! That time! He exclaimed, reaching for Sasuke. All of a sudden, it looked like he was about to lose his recently consumed fist. When Naruto ignored Sasuke's reluctance and proceeded to drag him towards the stream, wiping the liquid soap and washcloths out of Sakura's hands as he passed her. Feel free to soil Sakura-chan! He added with a tasteless wink, while Sasuke mumbling about wishing he was still unconscious. While the boys watched, Sakura picked up the 3 remaining frisks. Surprisingly, Naruto hadn't devoured them yet. Snapped out the fire, and picked berries and edible greens from the nearby bushes and shrubs. Together with the leftover fish, they had enough for dinner and to last the night. Once they were clean and their belongings were packed, Team 7 set out in pursuit of a new hideout. They agreed that one more restful, combat-free night would serve them well. They hunted down a nurse girl the following morning. But healing itself was only half the challenge. If they truly wanted to avoid another night, and to find a really good campout spot to avoid another late-night ambush. They spent the next few hours laying low, avoiding potential opponents, scouting out new hideouts. Finally, just as the sun began to set, He found a shallow cave in the side of a rocky mound, obscured by a tightly knit pattern of trees. They were remnants of a fire pit, and leaf leaves used for pillows splayed on the ground, so clearly the spot had been occupied before. Team 7 searched the area from top to bottom until they were certain it was vacant, before declaring it their hideout for the night. They wasted no time in setting intricate traps along the perimeters using an array of weapons, explosive tags, and metal wires, though their cave was as instant as it was going to get. By the time they finished eating, night had fallen. This time the moon was partially concealed by wisps of gray clouds. Sasuke volunteered to take the first watch, and neither Naruto nor Sakura had the will to protest. He woke Sakura up for the next shift, which she willingly agreed to. Naruto deserved a long sleep after the hell he must have endured for caring for both of them. Thankfully, this night was drastically less eventful than 2 nights prior. Sakura's biggest karma alarm during either of her watch-duties, in fact, was when a rabbit ventured just a tad too close to one of her kunai-laced traps, so she chased it away to safety. When her second shift came to an end in the wee hours of the morning, the sun was poking over the treetops, casting a soft glow across the dew-laden greenery. She returned to the cave to wake Naruto for the last shift. But to her surprise, when she got there, both boys were sitting side by side, with their backs propped up against the cave wall, apparently engrossed in conversation. They silenced when she reached the mouth of the cave and turned to face her. "Were you even sleeping?" Sakura asked, placing a patronizing hand on her hip. She hoped they weren't ready to leave the hideout just yet. She'd been looking forward to her last couple hours of shut-eye. "Don't worry, I just woke up," Naruto said, grinning far more wildly than the newly awoken human beings were capable of. "Get some rest, Sakura-chan. I'll take the last watch," he had before rising to his feet, stretching his legs, bounding into the dark trees out of sight. Sakura sighed, relieved, slid down to the very spot Naruto had been seated. She glanced tiredly at Sasuke, who had his forehead protector back on, staring determinedly at the opposite wall of the stony cave. "Have you slept?" she asked, raising her eyebrows. There was absolutely no reason for him to be awake at this hour. He raised a breath through his nose and shook his head. "Not really," he answered quietly, burning his face. Sakura stared in concern. "Well, you should try to. You aren't fully healed," she ordered gently, her eyes instinctively flickering to the black mark at the pit of his neck. The breathing hit slightly. Even though the curse was sealed away, this was the first time she interacted with Sasuke directly since the curse had been inflicted. Though she knew he was still in control of his thoughts, as far as Sakura knew, he was a ticking time bomb. "Is my seal holding up?" she asked tentatively, squeezing her fingers into her fists. He seemed loads better now that he was awake and rested. There was no telling what it felt like to have Orochimaru's energy coursing through his veins, regardless of his steel existence. He was silent for a long moment, and when he finally spoke, he didn't answer her, but instead asked, "How do you know that, man?" Sakura's face drained in color. "Orochimaru, you mean?" she asked, pulling her eyes away. She felt Sasuke watching her in a firm silence. "We've got some dark history," she added honestly, racking her brain for a way to safely confide in him, not giving too much away. "What history?" Sasuke prompted, eyes narrowing. It dawned on her that if she danced around the subject too fatally, Sasuke would get more suspicious of her mysterious backstory. God, and he got somehow the impression Orochimaru was her psychopathic ex-boyfriend or something. That would rouse a slew of unneeded drama. So maybe she better cut to the chase. "Long story short, that serpent is the reason why my mystery exists in the first place. And You need to kill him," Sasuke cut in, words flat yet sincere. "I need to kill him," she confirmed nodding gravely. A silence followed. Sakura bit her lip as the words sunk in. Yes, she really did need to kill him now. Now that Sasuke's life was on the line, again. "And once you do, will your mission be over?" Sasuke asked with mild interest, leaning more comfortably against the wall of the cave. Like this was a conversation they might be having over dinner. Sakura shook her head slowly. "Not exactly. I got a hit list of sorts," she admitted, chuckling darkly to herself. "Who's on it?" Sasuke asked, leaning in closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. Sakura saw him a sideways glance, Nearly laughed at how eagerly he was staring. There's nothing like talking about revenge to rile Sasuke up. Damn conversation indeed. This is hardly a time to have a bedtime, she groaned. But he shook his head. Try me. He sat back, smirking. Sakura got the sneaking suspicion she was being tricked somehow. As she known that, for quite some time now, Sasuke had been antsy to learn the finer details of her revenge mission, and a dangerously effective skill at getting her talking. But even then, despite her concerns, before she could really process what she was doing, Sakura was suddenly laying it all for him, nestled in a cave in the early hours of the fourth day of the Forest of Death. She told him about the Akatsuki, where hideouts she knew of, several members she was more familiar with, Kisame, Deidara, Sasori, who, she does gradually realize, would have to be killed again in this life, in pain. Sasuke listened gingerly, offering encouraging questions about her explanations. Aside from a few rather insignificant details, including she was for the future, she openly described several monsters who looked beyond Kuroha's bars. Hold your tongue, Sakura, voice nagged at the back of her head. For some reason she didn't care. Finally putting her disjointed plans out in the open for someone else to hear, felt like some heavy burden was being lifted off her aching shoulders. Sasuke was a particularly keen audience. So, who would you like to go after first? He asked genuinely, curiosity. She could practically feel his autonomic responses heightening. The asshole was having fun listening to stories of her messed up life and impossible goals. She paused and realized she'd never gotten that far in her scheming. What's a Katsuki member would be her best target first? Or maybe she would be better off chasing down Richimaru. Not that she was in any of their leagues, but hypothetically, assuming she was. She mused. I was stretching the low ceiling of the cave. Well, it depends on where they are when I set out to kill them, I guess, she said, struggling. There have been times when members were lured right to Konoha, so maybe I could just lie in wait. I mean, Pain, Kisame, and Itachi have all been inside the village before. She hummed to herself a few quiet moments afterwards, lost in her thoughts. Hardly seeing noticing the newfound stony silence enveloping his teammate. She called on soon after and saw him a questioning look, only finding he was staring at her with a stoic expression that her heart skipped a couple of beats. She opened her mouth to mask what got into it when she interrupted what was a simple, gut-wrenching word. Itachi. Oh shit. She said his name, hadn't she? During absent-minded rambles, Sasuke was clear to tend to the raptor was not going to let it slide. You want to kill my brother, he said quietly, voice laden with emotion. You. She bravely turned his direction, feeling very much like a dog with a tail between his legs, and offered a sticky smile. There's no sense lying now. He was far too perceptive for that. Not necessarily, she said disoffensively. Her voice came out squeakier than anticipated. Just a hit less. Wishful thinking, you know? Sasuke was looking at her like he had never seen before. His intense, calculating eyes scanning and taking in every inch of her face. Sakura shivered under his stare, not quite sure what to make of his reaction. The type of emotion he was feeling was difficult to decipher. But whatever it was intense. It could be on the verge of screaming at, punching, or even kissing her for all she knew. The silence was so treacherously painful that Sakura wanted to run and hide, perhaps even prepared this conversation never happened in the first place. Oh, but it was far too late for that kind of thinking now. The words were hanging in the air and there was nowhere to run, or even buzz given her cramped position in this tiny, secluded cave. We could do it together. Sakura's green eyes widened and her breath caught in her throat. What? She gasped. Thoughts hazy for the world nerves. Does he mean? He averted his gaze to the ground and took a breath. You, me, both of us, he said quietly, like he was struggling to find the right words. His eyes flickered back to hers. We'll keep training together for a few more years. Come up with some clear plans, and then we'll take care of them ourselves. Orochimaru, Itachi, Akatsuki, all of them. She blinked rapidly, crystal clear realization flooding in her mind. You mean that we defect the village, leave Konoha together? Yeah, I guess. He answered, voice a little strained, seemingly marveling at the immensity of his own proposition. Sakura's heart was drumming in her chest because her logic was screaming her to end the rights of this conversation now. Another stronger part of her was floored by how provoking this proposal was. We won't be strong enough to kill them for a long time, you know, she offered pointedly, trying to steer her own hopes away from this preposterous offer. He nodded and answered automatically, like he planned it all out. Then we go in a few years when we're in Ambu. Defect while we're out on a mission. No one has to know. It seemed shocked even as the words poured out of his mouth. At the same time, he was looking at her expectantly, trying to gauge her response. Oh, yes, the idea. She ain't the only one, brother. Sir, they would technically be doing what Sasuke did in her whole life. Abandoning the village in pursuit of revenge. This would be different, wouldn't it? They wouldn't be betraying the village by any means, but rather protecting it from the outside. They eliminate the areas of the village it didn't even know it had. Because now this adventure soon enough. Besides, it's not like you'd be going against orders. So now they assigned her a mission to save Konoha. That'd be your best shot at doing that. Also, the prospect of traveling around the world with Sasuke was rather appetizing in itself. And there was a flash across her mind's eye of an older version of the two of them, adorned in sleeveless and Black Ops uniforms, with massive tattoos on their upper arms. Reminded me to wonder. It certainly make a great pair of assassins after all the years they spent training together. Not to mention, sure they'd be famous, given their high-standing reputations. The eventual title of Akatsuki hunters. Sakura felt spark of genuine excitement as their fancies ran wild. Sasuke's Anbu mask would probably be something cunning. A cat or a wolf, maybe. And her own? Maybe she'd choose something a little fiercer. Maybe a tiger? A bear? And they'd be lovers, too. Sakura's fancy-strong mind began to wander. Maybe, just maybe, he got his feelings to stay by her side, instead of embarking on a lonely, hateful path. Speaking of feelings, Sakura only then noticed the warm tears on her face when he dripped down the bare skin of her knees. She jerked her head up. Sasuke was looking at her with confusion written across his face. He brushed a few stray tears from her cheek with the back of his index finger. Sakura? He prompted, raising his eyebrows. She realized he was waiting a response from her. Because aside from the odd questions he asked about his scheme, she provided no affirmation that she actually be willing to take part in it. She opened her mouth to answer, but when she was struck by yet another realization, she remembered the letter she discovered in the Hokage's office before the exams. The letter that quite plainly suggested Sasuke's revenge was misguided. Tatsu might not belong on her hunt list. So far she hadn't found the guts or the opportune moment to admit her discovery to Sasuke. She was withholding information that could change his life plans, his future. A heavy guilt settled in her core. Sasuke detected her hesitation, but got the wrong idea about it. Your ex-boyfriend might not like it if we leave, though, he said, frowning, folding his arms. But if he's as messed up as you say he is, I might as well add him to that hit list of yours. He added darkly, turning away. Sakura stared in disbelief at her guilt, temporarily dissipating. He was still going on about that so-called ex-boyfriend, who just happened to be his future self. He is not in the picture, Sasuke, she said, shaking her head, suppressing an untimely laugh. An effort that pushed more water over her tear ducts. Sasuke raised a cynical eyebrow. Stop crying, he commanded, moving to wipe tears off her eyes. But his hand never made it to her face because Sakura lost patience, wrapped her arms over his shoulders, and pulling him into a forceful hug. I'm happy, okay? She hissed against his neck, squeezing tighter. Her accents spoke loudly enough to convey how she felt. Her stupid tears were falling again, wiping the collar of his shirt. I'm happy, she repeated quietly. Sasuke didn't respond, but instead pulled her closer by the waist, until their bodies were flushed and the hair of it was all over her face, and their hearts were thudding against each other. Eventually they fell asleep like this, Sakura feeling safe and content, just enough to push her guilty thoughts aside. She never told him about the massacre when they were out this forest. Now she would take a moment to enjoy the feeling of bliss and completeness in her knowing she had someone to share her burdens with. Someone who, despite the impending lure of the curse on his neck, wanted to help her navigate her challenges as much as she wanted to help him. Nothing in the world would take this feeling away from her. Not even what Naruto would make of it when they would wake up in the morning.